Margaret stood before thousands, her voice rising like a dove into the night sky. The audience cheered, sang along, and cried. To them, she was a woman full of joy and God's glory. But behind the smile was pain. Behind the angelic voice were bruises. Behind the beautiful gowns was a body battered by love gone wrong. Her husband Greg, also a gospel singer, had once been her prince. But fame had changed him. Jealousy had grown like weeds in his heart. Each time Margaret became more successful, he turned colder, more violent. She had lost 3 pregnancies, all because of his beatings. I don't want people to judge him, Margaret always whispered to herself, pressing frozen peas to her bruises. He's a man of God. Maybe God will change him, she said to herself. Her best friend Opiami, who was also the family doctor and a church member, had warned her many times. But Margaret, this is dangerous. You're going to die one day in this marriage, said Opiami one time. I'm praying, Margaret replied softly. God can change hearts. Then Joseph came into the picture. He was the opposite of Greg. Loud, confident, a music producer for secular artists. He smoked. He drank instead of praying. But Joseph saw something in Margaret that others didn't. You don't belong in chains. You belong on the biggest stage in the world. Let me sign you, he said one day after her performance. I don't sing worldly music, she replied quickly. I'm not asking you to, Joseph smiled. I want you to sing inspirational music, real-life stories, just like your story. You'll change lives. Margaret refused again and again. Still Joseph didn't stop. He started showing up after her concerts, sending her flowers, texting her prayers. Joseph started praying. Greg noticed. He would watch Margaret closely, hating how she hummed happily around the house now. What's with this new fire in you? He asked one night as they lay in bed. Are you sleeping with that sinner? He asked suspiciously. No, Margaret cried, shocked. He's just a producer. He likes my music. That's all. But Greg didn't believe her. He became worse. One night, after a fight where Greg broke her favorite award, Margaret finally packed a small bag and ran to her friend Opiami's house. Opiami hugged her tightly. You've made the right choice, she said. I don't know, Margaret replied. I feel like I'm failing the church. No, Margaret, Opiami said gently. You're saving your life. But as always, the next day Greg apologized. With tears. With fasting. With fake gentleness. I'll never hit you again, he promised. Please come home. I need you. Against Opiami's advice, Margaret went back. Then came the interview. Margaret had just finished a TV session when Greg exploded in the car. You made me look weak. You kept calling me my husband like I was a stranger, he said furious. I was only trying to sound respectful, Margaret whispered. I didn't mean to upset you. Oh, so now you're pitying me, he shouted. Before she could say, I'm sorry, Greg. He shouted, get out. And he threw her out of the moving car right in the middle of the road. Dust covered her face. Her gown ripped slightly. Cars honked. People staring. Margaret, said a familiar voice. When she turned, it was Joseph. He had been following her car, worried after the interview. Are you okay? He teased her gently. You want a ride, or should I carry you like a baby? She tried to smile, but tears fell instead from her eye. Just take me anywhere but here, she said. They drove all the way in silence to Joseph's house. When they got to Joseph's house, it was neat, warm. There was music playing softly in the background. No smoke. No girls. I cleaned up, Joseph grinned. I knew that one day you'd come. He chuckled. Let's talk, he said with a seriously look on his face. Why do you stay with a man who hits you? Margaret sighed. Because I'm a gospel singer. A role model. What will people say if they find out? She said. Joseph leaned forward and said. What if they find out he kills you one day? Immediately her breath caught in her throat. Joseph continued, that people don't care as much as you think. Your life is the real message. Not your title. Not your album. Later that night, Joseph showed her his recording studio and offered her a record deal. You can sing inspirational songs. Your truth. Your journey. Let people see the real you, he said. Margaret was moved. She nodded. Okay. I'll do it. He smiled and said. Then sign tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. As he walked her back to the door, something happened. He leaned in and kissed her. Margaret pulled back quickly, her eyes wide. What are you doing? I'm sorry. I don't know why Before he could finish his sentence, she gave him a slap. I'm a married woman, she snapped. I said I'm sorry. Joseph held his cheek. It won't happen again. Please. Forget it ever happened. She stared at him for a long second, then nodded slowly. He dropped her home late in the night. Greg opened the door, looking calm, too calm. I'm sorry, he said again. Please, one last chance. Margaret sighed. I'm only here to pack my things. I signed a deal. My meeting is at 9 a.m. Greg blinked. Deal? Yes. Inspirational music. It's not a sin, Greg, she said. Greg didn't argue. He kissed her forehead and helped her to bed. But at 7:45 a.m. the next morning, Margaret woke up to a shock. All her clothes, every single one, was wet and dumped in the bathroom. Her shoes were missing. Her wigs were gone. Greg, she called. There was no answer. Panic set in. She checked the clock, 8 a.m. Then she did the only thing she could. She ran into Greg's closet and pulled out a shirt and trousers. They were too big, but she rolled up the sleeves and tied the waist with a belt. She grabbed her handbag and dashed out. At 8:59 a.m., she stormed into Joseph's studio. Joseph stared. Is this a joke or Fashion Week? Margaret panted, out of breath. Just hand me a pen. She signed the record deal. She signed the deal in her abuser's clothes, but with her own power. As the studio crew cheered, Joseph gave her a quiet look. Are you ready to change the world? He asked. Margaret nodded. But first, I'll change myself. Moral lesson of this story is that no title, reputation, or public image is worth more than your safety, happiness, and life. True strength is not in staying silent through pain, but in finding your voice and using it, even when your voice shakes. You can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of you.